Jeris Johnson, welcome to the show once again. Thank you so much for making time for this. I want to apologize in advance because I woke up sick today and I'm loopy on Dayquil, so if my vibes are weird, I apologize in advance, and my voice sounds even dorkier than usual if that's possible. So please accept my apology.
Should I go do some fucking acid to just go full loopy mode on this whole thing, or what? What are we doing here?
That, or you could maybe do some voodoo, call up Azalea Banks and get some like chicken bones out of her closet. I don't know.
I've been known to cast a spell or two in my time, so yeah, we could go there.
Well, before we get into it, I have lots of questions, but before we get into it, I gotta know, would you rather watch the video of Dave Ellefson from Megadeth jerking it for an hour on loop, choice number one, or behind door number two, be trapped in a room of Tool fans for an entire day?
Look, okay, I actually I'm going to commit the cardinal sin of saying that I actually like a couple of Tool songs.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you like the Dave Ellefson video.
No. I could go my whole life without watching that video and be very happy about it.
It was pretty impressive, to be honest. I mean, at his age, like the volume,
yeah,
I was impressed.
The amount, yeah, you could make some money off of an amount that high.
Listen, Dave,
to go around, might as well.
This might be a silver lining, a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, I know. I would take the Tool fans because at least, I could talk to them about the 2.5 songs I actually like of Tool, but there's really no winning. There's really no winning the other one. So yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Well, the main thing I wanted to talk about is, sort of where you're at now in your career, that you are now independent after being on 300, the same label as Fetty Wap and Megan Thee Stallion and Young Thug. And
it was a weird move to begin with, I'll admit that.
Well, I mean, if someone, that's Leo Cohen's thing, right?
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, if they want to sign you to Leo Cohen's label, then it'd be hard to say no. But let's talk through the whole thing. How you ended up on the same label as Megan Thee Stallion. So you went viral on TikTok in what, 2021?
Yep. It's about 2020, late 2020. Okay. Yeah. That was when we first, a lot has changed since we last talked in this format. Obviously, we're privately friends and we've gotten to know each other over the past couple of years. But I think the first time that we talked, I think that was literally the first time we actually ever talked. Mm-hmm. Was on the first podcast 3 years ago or whatever.
Yeah.
And that was about when I had first gotten signed. And I don't even remember if I said anything about, if we even talked about, me signing to a label or anything like that. I don't remember at all.
I don't think so. This was before you did the Papa Roach and Nickelback, or no, you had done the Nickelback thing, but you hadn't done the Papa Roach thing. That was just about to come out.
I got signed pretty fast, honestly, from Damn, from the very viral, video. And the way it worked was, I went, but this was back in, I'm talking like a fucking boomer already, but this was back in the heyday, of TikTok a few years ago when everybody labels were signing everything. That was popping on TikTok. Oh, you had a viral song on TikTok, multi-million-dollar record deal. Click the fucking button, sign on the dotted line. Left and right. It was crazy. And
is that not happening anymore?
No, not at all. Because I think that they've gotten burned enough times where, if it's possible for a label to get burned, I guess it kind of is. But they've signed enough fucking dorks that actually suck, that just got lucky and went viral on TikTok, that maybe we shouldn't just sign a person who's maybe not an actual talented
musician
artist or something. Yeah. Maybe we should think a little bit more deeply about what we're signing rather than just whatever the first thing that's going, whatever's the number one trending sound on TikTok. So, because look, you can a lot of sounds on TikTok are from good songs or whatever, but a lot of them are just stupid, and they're not actually made by an artist that wants to like have a good career.
It's not. And really quickly, I also wanted to mention my Patreon. If you like what I do on YouTube and everywhere else, joining my Patreon really helps me do this full time and worry less about videos getting demonetized by YouTube or copyright claimed by labels. Patrons get all my podcasts and main channel videos early. There are members only channels in my Discord that I'm super active in. I also do giveaways. For example, I've been giving away a lot of Emo's Not Dead merch, and you can also have me review your music, artwork, or anything else. All you need to do is join my Patreon at the $10 level, and then every month I do a call for submissions. If you want me to review something, just drop it in the comments of that post, and then I will review it live on Twitch. So if any of that sounds cool to you, hit the link in the description of this video, and I appreciate your support. It's not really a song, it's just the punchline to a joke, because the line in the song is like, my dick's so big or something.
Yeah, and who knows why, it's like, and things, I've had multiple sounds go viral, and, I've had sounds that I thought were going to, like, could be a sound and go viral that, like, didn't get any uses. And then I've had sounds that got, like, 100,000 uses, parts of my song or whatever, that I'm like, oh, I wouldn't have chose that part. So,
right.
And it really is, like, the luck of the draw with most viral kind of sounds, and to chase that dragon anymore in 2023 is just like a lost cause, because
meaning as an artist trying to go viral.
Yeah, trying to get a viral sound on TikTok is so stupid, because I mean, most of the time, especially in the rock and metal world, like you look at the viral sounds that have come out of the rock and metal world in the past couple of years, and it's all from bands that have been doing this for
like 10 years,
almost 10 years. Yeah, you got
Lord of Shore, Bad Omens.
People think of Bad Omens like a new band, but they're like 8 or 9 years old already.
Yeah.
Sleep Token, all same thing. Fucking Ghost, the big Ghost, a huge TikTok sound, almost like 1 million uses or something.
Right.
And band for fucking 13 years or something.
Right.
Like, so, the way that I would now think of trying to get, I mean, it's kind of just the way I've shifted my perspective in general since being like the viral TikTok kid or whatever, is like, what really truly matters is creating actual great art and great music and building a great brand. That is what really matters. And then when the time is right, your fans will fucking make a part of your song go viral. Mm-hmm. When the time is right. When you've got the right song, when you've made great art, when you've built up a brand, it will happen. That's the way it works. So, we kind of got off track a little bit, but
well, for anybody who doesn't know, you are a very, very talented musician beyond what people may have heard. I mean, like I've said before, you can play every instrument better than probably 90% of people in like established bands. And
correct.
You might people might not have known that, from TikTok in 2020. Did 300 know that about you, or did they get to know you, or was it just like, oh, you got a hot song, let's do this, here's some money, let's go?
It was mainly that, but we did have a private playlist of maybe 8 or 9 demos, of other songs that definitely made it clear I wasn't just like I was like, damn guy,
So they knew that you had more than that.
They knew that I had more than that coming to the table, and obviously
that song is great, by the way.
I mean, it is. I mean, it has taught me a lot about what makes a hit song, because obviously, like any artist, I mean, this is like the most stereotypical thing to say, but it's like, I don't like that song. I don't want to play that song. It's fucking stupid to me, whatever. But that's the thing, is like, I learned and realized over the course of kind of doing this that I perceived myself in a way that was completely different than how people perceived me. And
tell me about that.
And as an artist, you can't, it's actually not up to you how people perceive you and how people perceive your art. It's
even aside from art, this is just true of like life in general.
Yeah, it's true of life in general. And you genuinely, I think of I had thought of myself as this fucking, like boundary pushing, multi-talented, forward thinking producer and songwriter making this like future of rock, like new shit. And then people are just like, Nickelback.
Oh, you're the TikTok rapper.
Yeah, or whatever. Like, it's just,
yeah.
They thought
no.
please, no. They just thought of me so differently and perceived me so differently than what I thought. And part of that is also a little bit my fault because, I probably leaned into some things that were getting me some clout and just virality, a little bit more that weren't necessarily like completely authentic to like who I am,
Like
just like, I don't know, fucking being like a white trash, like Kid Rock guy.
Right.
Like a early part of like my brand, like, fuck you, I smoke cigarettes and drink beer and I fucking rap about bitches. Like,
back when DaBaby still wore diapers.
Yeah. Yeah, like I definitely, leaned into something. I was like, all right, well, if people are going to perceive me this way anyways, I might as well fucking like go all the way, and just like make it a whole fucking thing. And it worked, it worked to a certain extent, but I think a big part of what this past couple of years being like new, like my whole freshman kind of like saga in the music industry, I am like I am a new man, than when we first talked.
Yeah, it seems like it.
It's just like I have gained such a different perspective on like what it takes and who I am. That was a big thing. Is like one of the hardest parts as an artist is genuinely trying to figure out like who you are as an artist, especially for somebody like me who likes a lot of different genres, has the ability to make a lot of different genres, can do this, can do that. Like, it's like I was a big mistake I made over the past couple of years was I did everything because I could, not because I could. I
meaning like different genres and stuff.
Yeah, like one song I'm fucking rapping hyper pop, glitching my fucking vocals out and doing these crazy like metal things and all the shit, and then the next song I'm doing like an acoustic butt rock fucking ballad. Then the next song I'm doing like a fucking frat boy Beastie Boys thing, and then I'm doing a fucking Kid Rock trap Nickelback thing, and I was just all over the place.
And why do you think it sounds like you believe that was a mistake?
I do believe it was a mistake because I think that in order to, if you look at all of the greatest artists, throughout history, bands and artists included, a great artist has a sound. Like,
right.
What a fucking Slipknot song sounds like.
They're not going to give you ska.
Yeah. what a fucking Migos song sounds like, or Lil Uzi, or whatever the fuck. Like, the great artists that blow up have a sound because they're doing something that only they can do. It's that sound, whatever. So, I failed to develop truly my sound. I experimented with a lot of different things that could turn into my sound. Like I could have made a whole album. I feel like I would probably be literally at least 3 or 4 times as successful and popular right now if I just made my whole entire first album like Damn the Album, and I was just like the fucking like Nickelback Kid Rock like rap kid. If I just like did that thing for 12 tracks and like branded it perfectly, like I guarantee I'd be like at least 4 times as popular right now.
Do you think you would have been happy doing that?
No, because I don't think that I don't think that is who I truly am, and what I don't think that is what would have truly captured me. It would have been successful and I could have done it, and I am smart enough to market something like that and I would know how to brand that, but like I just don't think it wouldn't have fulfilled me, and it also would have.
Then you'd be like riffraff.
Yeah, exactly. I'd be like stuck because I would have gotten even more famous for doing something like that, and I would have been really, really fucking perceived like a certain way. Another way that I feel like probably the main way that I've been perceived, at least in the rock and metal community, is like the cover song remix guy,
right? Which is way worse.
Which is way worse. Which also sucks, But it was such a dichotomy.
I mean, those are good. I mean, I like those a lot, but you don't want to be that guy.
I don't want to be that fucking guy. Yeah. But the problem is it was it was so like unheard. Like I was doing something that was so like unprecedented because I wasn't just making a cover song and like putting it on you like metal cover of Taylor Swift.
Right.
Like I literally like making
what if Slipknot was pop punk?
Yeah, I'm not wasn't that. I was literally making like a brand new interpretation of a classic rock or metal song with the original band that did it. So like it was so cool. And I was also getting, it got me in the room with Papa Roach and Ollie and Bring Me and all these, situations where I was just like a kid, like on a fucking roller coaster, like, holy shit, my life is fucking crazy. I'm like hanging out with fucking Oliver Sykes and Jacoby Shaddix making these remixes and stuff. And it was so cool and it was so fun. So it felt good and it felt like the right thing to do. And it was like, really helping me build like a little bit of a following. But then as soon as I went and dropped, you drop a original song after that, nobody cares because they're following you to see a certain thing. And you just get so defined and so pigeonholed, in whatever people are perceiving. So what I learned and what I've really thought about moving forward is, okay, I need to now for this next phase and for this next album, I need to go away for a while and I need to do some soul searching and really discover who I truly am as an artist and then exclusively put that out into the world so people understand and perceive who I truly am as an artist. That is what was important to me over the past like really year or so. And I feel like, I've only really dropped like, one song from this new phase so far, and it's already fucking blown, it's like going to be my number one song on Spotify here pretty soon because it's moving so fast. So it's obviously working. And I feel really just good. And finally, like people are finally seeing like I'm finally making the music that my soul like has wanted to make, and it doesn't mean I'm completely getting rid of like pushing the boundaries or, being a forward thinking artist at all. I'm doing actually, even more of that than I ever have with most of the songs on this upcoming album. But I finally just have tapped into like making something for me and not for other people, not because I thought it was going to bring me fame or clout, or it was going to make kids think I'm a cool rapper, or was it going to make this thing? Like I'm just making something for me, for my soul. And I think it comes off, it's going to work that much better because it's just true and it's authentic and it's who I am.
I think maybe the stuff you were doing before, like My Sword is probably like my favorite song you've done.
That's the closest thing to what this new album sounds like.
Okay. It may be at that time, it was just maybe a little bit more than people were ready for because it's like, it's so fucking wild and just bizarre. I love it and I totally get it, but I feel like people might just not have been ready for it at that time.
Yeah, I agree. And that's part of what being a forward thinking artist, it kind of comes with the territory. You're going to have things that go underappreciated, if you're doing something that's that outside the box, so
you just got to OD, then everyone will anoint you as a genius.
Yeah, I need to.
I mean, it's an option.
Have it. I know.
If I don't know if it's worth it, that's your call to make. But
yeah, well, it's not. I like my health and my clarity in my brain, so it's a good thing that it's not worth it. But that's also another perception that kind of pisses me off is like this, like, fucking like, oh, troubled genius thing. Like, I'm like a relatively happy and healthy person. I have my own problems and my own emotions, like anybody. But like, I feel like I definitely like have my shit together in life. And I don't think I need to be like a fucking whack job with a drug problem in order to make insane art.
It probably would help to make you more marketable, unfortunately, because like for real, people just love to watch a train wreck.
Yeah. I think like,
look at like Blueface over the last year or two.
Yeah, it's like
and he's a smart guy. He's a really, really smart guy.
Yeah,
playing
like
to some extent.
It's just it's like the crash you can't look away from. It's just like people, negativity always gets more attention than positivity. It just does. I don't know why. It is absolutely the way humans are wired.
I'll tell you why. I think so. There's in psychology they study it. It's called negativity bias, and it's a real thing. And I think from an evolutionary perspective, it's because it's more important for you to remember where the saber-toothed tiger lives than how pretty the sunset was yesterday.
Yeah, the danger aspect of it. Yeah,
I think that's why.
Yep, that does make sense. So yeah, I mean, and look, I'm sure I'm a fucking loud person and I have lots of opinions. I'm sure I'll probably get myself into plenty of trouble in the future.
There we go.
You know, I'm sure I'll have no problem getting attention for something else. You know, I don't need to have a drug problem on top of it. Probably.
Getting canceled is another option.
Yeah, getting canceled is another option. Which, you know, whatever. It seems like it just kind of happens to people no matter what you fucking do, no matter how hard you try not to
yeah.
Hardest not to get canceled are usually the ones that end up getting canceled anyways.
So do you think in hindsight that signing to like a rap label who's sort of, I feel like a label like that, it's kind of like if you're not going to be Thug or Megan or whatever, it's kind of like, well, then you are trash.
Yeah. Look, I think that, I mean, they had like a couple of rock artists they had water parks when I was there, you know, and they're good, you know, they were doing well. So, you know, that was something to look at kind of, but like
you're such small potatoes, you know, compared to their big dogs.
But they were at least, an independent label. So 300 was actually just a huge independent label.
Okay.
They with like a big partner company or whatever. So that was something that was enticing about it, you know. And I also just on a personal level, like when I was very first signing, I really just got along with the people, you know, that
matters a lot.
The most.
Yep.
I felt like they understood like my vision the most and were like the most excited about it. So that was kind of the main, you know, thing that I went for in that situation. And I actually still work with my A&R who signed me, this guy named Jeff Fence. He's awesome. He's a fucking legend in the music industry. He's done everything you wanted to do, met everyone you wanted to meet. He's just like a legend. But he's really like outside the system now, and he came with me when I left, and so I still work with him, and he still helps me on like the back end behind the scenes shit. But yeah, so the label thing, you know, the big, you know, obviously I posted that video, and it got some attention.
So for anybody who hasn't seen it, what was the sort of gist of that video?
Yeah, the gist of that video. So I posted this video titled "Why You Should Never Sign to a Record Label," and I mainly wanted to post it not just to like talk shit or whatever, like about a label or complain, because I don't feel that way. I don't like. It's not a complaining thing to me, but it was more so just to like kind of explain to like my fans and people who are still paying attention, like why I've been like gone for a year and like haven't posted and haven't dropped any music and just kind of like fell off the face of the planet. And people are like, are you still alive? And all that type of shit, you know, it was a lot to just clarify, you know, that. But
because when you're signed to a label like that, you can't just put shit out when you want to, how you want to.
Yep. You cannot do that. And there's a lot that you can't do, but yeah, it was basically just so, you know, when I first signed, obviously I was young. I hadn't moved to LA yet. I was, you know, just getting started with everything. And I knew, you know, you hear the warnings and you think, you know, like, oh yeah, the music industry, whatever, it sucks. It's corrupt. There's bullshit. Like you think you get it and you understand, but you don't really understand until some shit happens to you.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, like this is what people are talking about. And it's not even like the way that people think. It's like, it's not like this crazy, like evil mastermind.
Cigar smoking guys like, ha ha ha.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not, yeah. The guy, he thinks he can run the show. No, it's not really like that. It's actually a lot stupider than that. Which
it's like, this person quit and they were my contact and now the new person doesn't give a shit about me. Like that kind of thing.
Yeah. It's just like any job. It's just like corporate bullshit. You know, that's like what is, and it's so much of it that it's like, it's almost impossible to weave your way through it if you're not like a huge artist. So, I mean, even when you are fucking a huge artist, It's like, possible. But, when I first signed off the backs of my virality and stuff, like it was okay. It wasn't too bad. And I liked the people I was working with for the most part. And it wasn't like horrible or anything like that. But like over time, as soon as a little bit of that virality starts dipping down, as it does, we can't control the algorithm. Sometimes it's in our favor. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes you're doing shit that's worth being viral that doesn't go viral. And sometimes you're doing shit that's worth being viral and it does go viral. Yep. You can't always fucking control what the fuck's going to happen. So,
but the label doesn't care.
No,
they're like, tough shit. Figure it out.
Yeah, obviously not. So then as soon as they start seeing the smallest chink in the armor, the tiniest chink in the armor, it's like, okay, well, but we don't really want you to release anything until like you got like another viral like moment happening. So just why don't you just work on that? Why don't you just on getting us a viral moment for a while, until and then we'll maybe talk about starting a 6-week long pre-save campaign.
And what's crazy about that to me is like, well, what the fuck do you do then? If I have to make the music and I have to market it by, going viral and stuff, what the fuck do you do other than get me on some playlists?
Oh yeah, they don't. I mean, they can't even guarantee that either. I mean, they don't do anything. They're a bank. That's what they do. They give you money, but then
you don't need a bunch of money for like to make your music.
No, of course not. I mean, I'm the one making all my fucking music. Me and a couple of my close friends are doing it all in our bedrooms. Essentially. So yeah, it's not like it's not the type of thing I need to go get money from a label and rent out a famous Hollywood studio.
Yeah, record drums for 3 months and spend $100,000. Yeah.
So yeah, of course you don't need that. Of course I need, it's nice to have money for music videos and, to make shit. That's necessary in some type of way.
It's a very expensive bank though, is the problem.
It's a very expensive bank, and it's a bank that you don't really ever pay it, like
like
off.
Krayshawn, if you remember her, like she still owes them fucking $800,000.
I saw that tweet the other day.
Or she doesn't owe them. I mean, people say she doesn't owe them, but she will not. She's $800,000 in the hole.
In the hole, yeah. But it's like, but that doesn't make any sense, because if she's got like shit that's streaming, whatever, tens of millions of streams, or what her music is really streaming, I haven't looked, but I assume she posted it was platinum, so I'm assuming it's like enough stream. Like that's like not no money. Like that's crazy. That's weird, and I've just accepted that like all of the music that I've dropped in the past 2 years, from Damn up until fucking,
I'll never make a penny out of it
or something. Like, I'll never any ever. I mean, I can make stuff publishing or whatever, when it gets played on Serious Octane and shit, and that's fine. But like all those stream money, all the music video money, like gone forever, and I have no way of verifying. I don't know if they're cooking the books. I don't know.
I mean, you can audit them if you really want to, but
but then it's just like, well, okay, well, I got to go spend tens of thousands of dollars on legal fees and all this other shit like that. It's crazy.
Spend $20,000 to potentially make 15 or something,
Yeah, or I lose because they have a legal team of 10 of the players ever, and they're trying. It's like they know it's an unwinnable fight for somebody like me. So it's kind of like, it just doesn't make any sense to even try. So
I still think it was smart for you to do this, though. Like, even if it didn't necessarily work out the way that you wanted to. I mean, what's the alternative? You say no to that, when you're like a kid in Oregon?
I don't regret doing it, because it got me to LA. It got me, I was broke. It got me some money in my pocket that I needed desperately. It gave me the ability to make music full time and work on shit, and gave me the ability to, build up a little bit of a following and go on a tour and
got on a bunch of big festivals and stuff.
Yeah, it helped launch. It absolutely helped launch. I'm not going to lie and be like, there is zero positive side to signing to a label. I still don't think that somebody should do it. I think that once you're in the position I was already in, going viral and stuff, I think that if I could go back and do it all over again, I probably would have been able to still be able, like, get enough money to move to LA and make music videos or whatever, because I'd be making the money, or I could go get a distribution deal with something and not, give away all the control.
You can even put shit on a credit card and come out ahead versus a label.
Exactly, bro. Just fucking get a American Express card and run up $100,000, and then just watch all my, fucking Damn has made $100,000 for sure.
Right.
In a gold record. So it's like, you just watch them come in anyways. So yeah, I mean, like I would have necessarily done it differently, but I also don't regret doing it because I definitely met a lot of people through doing it. It was, exciting. And it was kind of like, as a kid growing up, your lifelong goal is to like blow up and get signed. That's a thing. Yeah. And it's got this kind of romantic like connotation to it, where you're just like you really want to get signed. And I wanted to, and it was, I'm on the phone and my mom's crying and we're just happy and we're celebrating. It's awesome. It's like, it was so cool. So, there was obviously some positive things that came as a side effect of me making that decision. But I mean, I think there would have been plenty of other positive things that would have still came had I just been smarter and gone a different route. But
you never know, because you didn't know then what you know now. Like, yeah, if you could go back in time, and take all the knowledge that you have now back to 2020, maybe it would turn out differently, but that's not how it works.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, hindsight is 2020, and you can always look back and think about what you would do differently all the time. I'm sure I'm going to look back at this phase of my life and this album and probably have something I would have changed, or whatever. But that's the thing, is like, you can't art and something I've also realized about, like, listening back to some of those older songs, just being like, I don't like them anymore. I don't, whatever. And that's fine. But like, art is a capture of a moment in time, that's what it captures. And so I'll be making this album and I'm stoked on it right now. It's like everything about it I'm like so excited about and feeling so good about. I'm sure that 5 years from now, I'm going to look back and be like, I wish I would have done something a little bit different, but it doesn't matter, because the important thing is that I'm just capturing the spirit of now, that's what it is. And that's the humanity in it. I read one of the things that got me kind of going on this like album, like in a really big way, was like reading Rick Rubin's new book, which I don't know if you've read that, but it's so fucking good. It's insanely good. And it's just like gold on every page. And, there's like a quote. He talks a lot about this kind of idea, but there's one quote that always sticks out of my head. And he says, if your song has 3 flaws, it might not be finished. But if it has 8 flaws, it might be finished. Like, meaning that, the humanity of art being captured goes much longer than it being perfect. And, I would have tweaked this word, or I would have tweaked this lyric, or whatever.
You're wearing a Mayhem shirt. You listen to a Mayhem recording, it sounds like absolute dog shit. And that's why it's great.
Gonna make me name 3 Mayhem songs now?
I only know one.
Yeah,
I don't even remember the name of that one. The Moon, whatever one.
Moon.
Yeah. But I mean, that's I think, in my opinion, the biggest issue with like rock right now is just that everything is so goddamn like sterile and clean and perfect, and they're trying so hard, to make it a marketable product, which ironically makes it less marketable.
Yeah, even the way they look. Think about the way most band members look in these days. They all
look like fucking baristas.
They're all super undercut with the thing and hair and the gel, whatever, and then the like super clean style and the skinny jeans and the they're all
youth pastors.
They're all handsome, like, bro, like, that's not what fucking, what did, like, think about what like Jonathan Davis looked like back in the day,
Looks like some piece of shit you'd see at a bus stop.
That's a fucking crazy looking motherfucker. Yeah. And it's, because it's real. And, obviously whatever, if that's how they look, that's how they look. And that's fine. But like, I'm kind of just really tired of just seeing like the fucking clean cut white guy play the gent riff, like,
just everything on Octane. I shouldn't say everything, but like 90% of stuff on Octane.
I'm on Octane,
Well, that's what 90%, other than Jeris Johnson. There is some good stuff on Octane, and I think what Jose does is like really cool, and I get it. But I mean, he doesn't make the music, but it's so safe, and it reminds me of like, do you remember? I don't know if you paid attention to this stuff, but like maybe 10 years ago or so, like the tail end of the like Joey Sturgis era with all the like MySpace metalcore bands all sounded exactly the fucking same. And Joey's my friend and business partner. It's not a diss on him, but everyone copying him and copying the Devil Wears Prada and Asking Alexandria and all that shit. It's like all this shit looks and sounds exactly the fucking same. And I feel like we're in that moment now with like sort of current, you know, whatever they play on Octane.
Yep, it absolutely does. And I'm tired of hearing it. You know, I just like, I want to, but something I was tired of hearing it back, you know, a couple of years ago when I was saying future of rock and blah, 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 you know, like all that type of shit. Like I was still saying it back then, but what I failed to do was capture the true essence of rock and metal music. And I thought, well, the true essence of rock and metal music is just like a fuck you attitude and stuff. But what I started realizing was that, you know, look, people are not going to see me as a rock or metal artist unless I got some shit that sounds like rock and metal in there.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean that I can't be creative, push the boundaries, do different shit, blah, 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 whatever. And something else I realized too, the one of the reasons why all of this shit that is happening now, like the Octane core stuff and all the shit that sounds so samey, and the reason that we hate it is not only because it just all sounds the same, but because it actually genuinely fails to reach the greatness that most of the actual huge rock and metal bands that came before have captured.
I don't think those bands have anything to say.
They're
just like, oh, this is what kind of song I'm supposed to write. Okay. It's like, you know, the people that write jingles for commercials or whatever. Okay. You want something that sounds like this in this key. All right. Yeah, I can bang it out.
It sounds like they're making music for a business.
Yes,
in order
exactly.
to make enough money to scrape by so they don't have to go work at Starbucks.
Yes.
You know,
and hey, listen, if that's what you want to do with your life, that's cool. But I don't want to fucking listen to it.
Yeah, it's fine. And there's people that like it and whatever too. And that's also fine. You can like whatever the fuck you want. That's not my point. My point is just that for me, somebody who rock and metal was the genre, you know, that was what spoke to me when I grew up and when I was just entering the phase of becoming an individual, you know, that you know, wherever it is, like between 9 and 13 or something, when you're like, I'm a person.
I like this and that. And
I don't like that, whatever, you know, rock and metal and those bands, like that is what spoke to me. And the reason it spoke to me is because I was listening to all these fucking great bands that had some shit to say and do. And that was like, holy fuck. And it was so mind blowing. And so just like, I mean, I was being a 14-year-old and listening to fucking the self-titled album or what, Slipknot, you know, for the first time and just being like, I have never heard anything like this. This is so crazy. And it just blew my mind, you know, and like, there's just nothing mind blowing about 99% of metal bands right now. The most mind blowing thing, I guess you could say, is like the fucking deathcore vocalist arms race that's happening.
Yeah, which to me is just so boring, and nothing against any of those bands. It's just like, okay, we did it. Like, can we do something else now?
To a demon from hell can I sound? And it's impressive. I mean, I can't fucking do that. It is.
But how many more times do we need to do it? Okay, Will Ramos is awesome and amazing, and he did it. You don't need to do it again. He did it.
Yeah. You know, we don't need more, you know, just like how the world doesn't need 2 Slipknots, the world doesn't need 2 Will Ramoses either.
Right.
You know, so like you got to do what only you can do. And that is what makes art special. And that's what makes artists and bands special, is when they get like, you know, so I know you're a certified System of a Down hater, but like
disliker.
Disliker. There has never been before, and there will never be after, a band that sounds like them.
Yeah, I agree with that. Definitely.
Sound so unique. It's fucking how weird they sound and unique they sound. And
especially for a band that mainstream.
Yeah, especially for a band that mainstream.
I mean, if you compare them to whatever obscure, like avant-garde shit, yeah, it's not that weird. But for, you know, a band that has like 5 Billboard Top 10 albums, yeah, it's weird as shit.
Yeah, so weird. And the reason it worked and resonates is because it's authentic, genuine, boundary pushing art that has
Yeah.
something to say. And it was really great. It was greatness. They captured greatness. And what most bands now fail to capture is true greatness. True greatness.
Yep.
You know, like, and there's a lot of ways you can define true greatness, you know, and it's not necessarily even up to me to define true greatness because there's a lot of ways you can be truly great.
But if you look at the bands that are standing out, Sleep Token, Polyphia, Bad Omens,
Yep.
you know, they are doing something that is
Yeah.
unique and different. And they do have something to say.
There's some true greatness there. There's a little bit of true greatness there. They're not all my particular thing. And, you know, they're not all the exact way that I would like to push the genre forward. But that's cool. That's fine because I'm going to push the genre forward the way I see it, you know, the way I perceive rock. And like this album that I've been working on is truly like the Jeris perception of rock and metal. Like the Jeris interpretation of rock and metal is what this album is. And that's good because, you know,
Avenged Sevenfold?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And of course, I mean, I knew that when I dropped this song, When the Darkness Comes, I knew that people were going to fucking say it sound like Avenged Sevenfold, sound like Metallica, sound like whatever. And that's fine because when you're artist that breaks onto the scene with something that gets a lot of attention like that, people even like, you know, whatever, Bad Omens or Sleep Token, I'm sure before, you know, when they were first breaking, people were like, oh, this reminds me of this, or this sounds like this, because people just love to throw you into whatever, something they're familiar with. You know, that's all it is.
Well, I mean, that's what they said about Hail to the King when it came out. They're like, oh, this sucks. It just sounds like Metallica, Black Album.
And now they're just saying I sound like Avenged Sevenfold. Yeah. I'm like, you guys, like, if you look at the comments on any of my fucking TikToks that have blown up about When the Darkness Comes, it's like, it's just a line of like, well, this sounds like this. Well, no. It actually sounds like this because this came before it. But no, you guys are missing this thing right here.
It drives me nuts how people get so autistic about kind of like who did it first and this and that. Like, it doesn't fucking matter, guys. If you like the song, that's the only thing that matters.
I wrote an awesome riff. Just say it's a fucking awesome riff and let's move on. You know, it's like,
that's all that matters.
Of course, it's inspired by Avenged Sevenfold and Metallica, and like, duh. And I was purposefully making a riff that sounded like that. Like, it is obvious. But what I did in the song is the whole chorus of the song does something that Metallica and Avenged Sevenfold could never and would never do.
Avenged Sevenfold might do it. They haven't yet, but
they
do some weird shit. But yeah,
nothing's off the table for them at this point.
Yeah. But you're right. I mean, yeah, that riff sounds like them, but the rest of the song doesn't.
Yeah, the rest of the song absolutely doesn't. And you know, and then of course, then you have people that are like, you ruined the song with the chord, that stupid trap part in the chord. Like, it should have just been a rock, you know, whatever. Oh, so then you can really tell me I'm just ripping off, you know, Metallica or something? Like, no, I wanted to do something that was my interpretation of a classic metal, you know, 4 on the floor thing. It wasn't just good enough for me to do that and just like, do a chorus that's just the same thing, like a Metallica chorus. Like, why would I do that? It's been done. You know, I want to do something.
I mean, you're not going to do that better than the Black Album. Nobody ever will.
Of course not. And I don't care to. But what I did care to do was go listen to the Black Album and go, what if I did my Jeris version of some shit like this? You know, what would that sound like? And I did it. And I was like, I love this. This feels like me. You know, this feels like,
I agree with that.
I feel like, you know, I've been a little bit, you know, obsessed with, I kind of did the reverse. Like, I was so obsessed with like the future. Yeah. Like, how do I make something sound like the future? And then when I kind of really realized about this like greatness thing, and like the reason that most of these bands are so boring now is not because they're not like necessarily adding, you know, it's not because they're not adding an 808 into their fucking shit. It's because they're just not making anything great. That's really what. And so I started looking back and listening back to older shit, listening back to all the event when I was first getting into metal, like, you know, fucking Nightmare or a self-titled album or whatever, and like listening to those albums and being like, what was the greatness that I felt from this, and how do I use that as inspiration and capture that and move it forward in my own way? And that was what I really focused on. So ironically enough, you know, the Future of Rock guy kind of in the past year, I've really actually been listening to a lot of old shit and trying to really feel and understand what it's like to make something truly great, because I can't listen to shit now that's truly great because it's
doesn't exist.
Doesn't really exist.
Yeah.
You know, like we've said, there's a couple people that are really just now starting to fucking come into their own and start making shit that's really great and stuff. But you know, it's up until this point, you know, it's kind of like been pretty dry. So yeah, it's just been a big journey and a big like it's been a big kind of reversal of my interpretation of rock and metal, in the way that like I realized that it's not because they need to add more electronics into rock and metal. It's because we need to make something that's truly great again. And of course,
which may have 808s in it or may not.
Yeah, of course, part of something being truly great is its boundary pushing in its own way, and it's unique in its own way. That is part of something being great.
But you could just make a great rock song with, you know, guitars, bass, drums, and vocals.
And I have songs on this album that don't have electronics in it. I do have a couple songs like that.
So do you think sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
You mentioned something earlier about, you know, saying that basically that rock fans were not going to accept you as a rock artist making the music you were making before, which I agree with that. And so it almost feels like you're kind of saying like, all right, I'll throw you a bone. Here's some guitars. Is there anything to that? Because it's true. Like they hate, even now, they hate 808s. They hate, you know, quote unquote auto-tune. You know, there's certain things that if you do it, rock fans are just not going to be into it.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, I think there is a little bit of me kind of going like, all right, it's actually really this. I'll put it this way. It's really like me going, okay, motherfuckers, you want to hear me make a rock and metal album? I'll show you how a fucking real artist makes a rock and metal album. That's the challenge that I've wanted to rise to. It's like, I want to make all of these fucking bands look silly right now and make it look like they're not even trying, because I can do rock and metal better than they can. And that is what I want. That's the challenge I wanted to rise to, is I wanted to show rock and metal fans like, look, you guys want to hear me do a rock and metal album? I'm going to show you what the fuck a real rock and metal album sounds like. What a real boundary pushing rock and metal album that rises to the greatness that I feel like the genre deserves. And in doing that, look, yes, I'm throwing them a bone, but there is absolutely going to be rock and metal fans that fucking hate this album. There absolutely will be. You know, not every song is as friendly to rock and metal fans as When the Darkness Comes is. I'll just say that right now. There's definitely some shit on there that's going to challenge their brain to a degree it has not been challenged in a long time. But I think it does. I've kind of given what I had to do was, especially because I also wanted, back to my earlier point where because I can do everything I should, but or I shouldn't, you know, like what I really did with this album going into this is I've decided to give myself a limited toolbox, like a sandbox with a few tools in it. And I have to be as creative and interesting and me with these tools in the toolbox. That's what I have to do. I see there's other tools out there, and I will usually want to gravitate towards those tools, and I could, and it would be awesome. But I want to make an album that's cohesive, front to back, that has a sound, that has a brand, that has an identity, that has a message. I want to do that. I want to make a fucking actual album that's a fucking statement. And in order to do that, I've had to limit myself with a certain set of tools, and I can only use those tools. And yes, a couple of those tools are like live drums and guitar in every song. Gotta happen. I can do anything else. I can go as crazy as I want, but there's gotta be live metal and rock and metal drums and guitar in every song, some type of way. So that was like a tool that I had to use. And, you know, it was just kind of about that, was just about giving myself the boundaries of a certain thing that I have to work in. And I could usually go out here, or I could go over here, but I have to challenge myself to get as creative as possible with these tools and only these tools. And I can't wait for people to kind of grasp the whole picture, of what I have going on. Each single that I drop, like I said, When the Darkness Comes is really like the first single from this album. And I'm going to do.
So is it done now or still working on it?
It's probably 70 to 75% done, and then of course there's like a bunch of mixing and mastering stuff that has to happen as well, but it's pretty well put together. I know the 16 songs that are going to be on it, so that part's done. But yeah, it's getting there, and I'll probably do like a handful of extra singles. I got another single, the other one I sent you before, Ode to Metal.
Mm-hmm.
That was dropping on December 1st. So that'll be like the next follow. I'm very curious to see, like, because it does such a good job. That song does such a good job of like kind of, all right, When the Darkness Comes kind of gives you a peek into what I'm doing, but like, wait, like Jeris hasn't given up on being crazy either, right. Like it is fucking crazy. So I'm excited to kind of put that out and give people like some more insight into like what's actually going on here, on this album. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, it must feel good to be able to like put stuff out again and not be in a holding pattern.
Yes, it absolutely does. And it's so fun too, because it's doing so well. It's like, what are we, like 2 or 3 weeks into the release? It already has 1 million streams. It's got 500,000 views on YouTube. And it's like it's not even just like, it's like, it's got 500,000 views on YouTube and the comments are like over 1,000 comments, which, like that's good engagement. Yeah. That's like a high level of engagement. So it's like, it feels good to like have a win right away. It's like the first one back, a fucking win. Take Me Away, technically I dropped that, but that was really more of like a little bit of like a warm appetizer kind of. Didn't really have like a real music video or like a real thing. It was just kind of like, hey guys, I'm doing rock and metal now, kind of, but When the Darkness Comes is really like the first true like unveiling of the new project, kind of. And to have it win and do so well so early, and have me be, I'm not on a label. Nobody can take that away from me. Fuck you, motherfuckers. I'm independent and I'm already fucking crushing. Like, that just goes to show you, like, the first song that I've dropped independent is doing better than the last fucking 10 songs I dropped on a label.
That's amazing. I actually didn't realize it was doing that well, but that's amazing, because it certainly wouldn't feel, I mean, if this kind of stumbled out of the gate, you'd probably just be like, well, all right, I got to rebuild, but it's got to just feel amazing to have a win out of the gate.
Absolutely does. It really does feel amazing. And I've had, a lot of people like, dudes like Ronnie Radke and stuff hit me up and just be like, bro, the song's fucking awesome. Post it on his story, share it, like all that type of shit. Like getting the cosign from the, people texting me and be like, bro, this shit is on like another level. Like this is going to go off. This is going to fucking pop off. And like, just to have it do that well right away, like it's so good. It's going to go to radio. They're doing a radio push. It's already getting spun on a bunch. It just feels so good. And I feel like it's just the universe being like, hey bro, like you made the right call. You did the right thing. This is going to work. This is going to fucking work. So yeah. And if it didn't do well, then, whatever, I wouldn't kill myself over it. It'd just be like, all right, I believe in the project as a whole, that like, it's the kind of thing too, that like people aren't going to understand based off one song. It's going to take time to build, You're going to understand what I'm doing by the time you've heard 4 singles and I dropped the album, and you look at the album cover and you see all the music videos and you hear the lyrics and you listen to all the songs. You're going to be like, oh, he
likes Skyrim.
Yes, he likes Skyrim or whatever. Like, yeah, it's going to be very obvious to people what my brand is. And then people, will be able to say like, oh, have you heard of Jeris Johnson? He does this,
exactly.
Like, metal. It's like metal mixed with fantasy shit, mixed with like hip hop shit, and like all together. And it's really easy to describe. Whereas like before, it's like, oh, well, he kind of does like weird like butt rock stuff. And then he does like these like covers and remixes, and then he kind of does like these ballads, and then he does this like a weird like hyper pop stuff, and then it's like, it was just like impossible to describe to anybody.
Which I appreciate, but unless you're like Mr. Bungle and you really hang your hat on just being
insane,
that, yeah, and you have a frontman who's in like a super famous band to sort of carry it, it's tough.
Yeah, so this is it just like, I couldn't feel more like I'm on the right path, and to have the song do so well and, be like working so well, and just like the fact that it's already going to go to like my number one song on my Spotify, like as a brand new song, it's like just so awesome. And it just feels so good. Like, yes. And this is really like the first song that I feel like people are truly like, I'm kind of just like being myself, I'm just like, I'm being the artist and the musician that's just me, it's not like me being like we're saying fuck you and wearing ski goggles and like and everybody. It's just like I'm just being me, and I'm just making the music that I wanted to make. And to your question earlier as well, like about if I was just throwing rock and metal fans a bone, it was also really like I feel like I'm kind of making an album for my 14-year-old self that first got into rock and metal, and because of that, I wanted to make shit that sounded like rock and metal with live drums and guitars and stuff, because that's what my 14 or 15-year-old self would have wanted to hear. Of course, I also would have wanted to hear the crazy shit too, because I had the same kind of taste as that back then as I do now in a way. But yeah, that was another reason why I wanted to go this route with everything. But anyways, yeah, it just feels great, and it feels so good that people are like acknowledging it, and just like that it's had a little bit of a moment. It's just going to keep growing, and people are just going to keep understanding more and more like who I really am, and it just feels like it's going to work.
Cool. Well, that sounds like a good place to leave it. As always, appreciate your time. Always good to talk to you.